Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Miss Camay Show. I am your host, Miss Camay, coming to you live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. You guys know where the show is at. You know where we're at. Today is my series of my legal series interviews on the Miss Camay Show. I recently launched this platform because I believe there is a need, especially here in the Las Vegas Valley, for paralegals and secretaries and legal assistants, legal support professionals to have tools and resources available to them to make them a better legal support professional. And who better to provide that information than my fellow paralegals around the country, right? And eventually around the world, hopefully. So today I am joined by the amazing Lindsey Corbin. I connected with Lindsey in a paralegal group on Facebook. Welcome to the show, Lindsey. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. It's great. It's really hot, but otherwise we're good.
Yeah, we share the same kind of weather, right? You and
Definitely.
I. You're out in Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys are a little hotter than us out here in Vegas. About what? Traditionally about 10 degrees hotter than us?
I think so, but after you get over like 105, I'm not sure it matters a ton.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much for being part of my legal series interviews. As I was sharing with our audience, I connected with you on Facebook in a paralegal group, and I saw how helpful you were. I saw that you were doing amazing things as a legal support professional and immediately took interest in you. I actually did a search in the group for you and saw back as far as I think 2015, where you were offering support and helping fellow paralegals in this group. And so I really wanted to bring you on the Miss Camay Show and have you talk about your profession. So I just want to start with, you are the CEO and founder of Delegate Legal. Mm-hmm. And you currently have a team of Trademark paralegals that work with you. And so start with this profession. How did you become a paralegal? Where did this all start for you?
So my career started back in 2005-ish. I actually thought that I was going to go to law school. I thought that I was going to go on a traditional path, but I got waitlisted twice. The LSAT has always been just a little bit elusive for me and not quite there. And so in the meantime, I graduated from undergrad with a legal studies degree, and I went and got a job at a law firm. Super simple. Yeah. And that was really just getting a foot in the door, right out of undergrad was how it all got started.
Yeah, very important point that you make there. Oftentimes as a legal support professional, we are hired to hit the ground and expected to hit the ground running. We're expected to know what we're doing. We are expected to have, a pretty good handle on the area of law that we're working in, at least the rules of civil procedure in whatever jurisdiction that we are working in. If you're working in different jurisdictions, you're required to know the rules in all those jurisdictions, because they can be different even in the same state, right? And so when you got into a law firm and it wasn't necessarily what you were doing, I'm with you on the LSAT, girl. I don't think I could pass it. Honestly, I've never tried. But I don't think I could do well. I had this expectation that I could just go into law school, and Nevada has a program where you can actually submit to the bar as a paralegal to kind of work as like a paralawyer. Yep. And you can't really represent somebody, but you can make appear in court on certain matters. And so I was kind of thinking, well, I'll go that route and kind of get around the LSAT because definitely a very difficult task, I think, for many people. So how did you know, coming into the industry, like you said, you thought you were going to become a lawyer, but your path has definitely taken a different journey. So how did you get to where you're at today? As I understand, you're a trademark paralegal, which I definitely want you to elaborate about that industry. But how did you get to where you're at today? Take us through that journey.
Sure. So the first firm I actually went to, and I just want to make one point that I think is really important. My undergraduate degree is in legal studies and psychology, but I didn't actually go back to get an additional paralegal certification until a little bit further in my career, which I know um, everybody chooses their own path and chooses their own route for education. But for me, it came a little bit later.
Okay.
I went into, ironically, like a wills and estates corporate firm in a tiny little office. I think there were 3 attorneys, and I was really the administrative assistant. I was doing the monthly billing. I was notarizing wills. I hope these people never call me. I was doing all of these tasks, and as most 21-year-olds do, I assumed that I was better than all of that. And so I wanted to go find another job. So I then left that firm and made a pit stop in an in-house legal department. But then I ended up at a boutique IP law firm. I had no experience in IP, and I found a firm where the paralegal manager, he was a very lovely, albeit quirky gentleman, but he recognized my potential. He recognized that I was very much a self-starter and really didn't need experience because I could figure it out. Like that wasn't going to hold me back.
Okay.
And so he took a chance on me, and I came in, and it was shortly after I started at that firm, I actually then decided, okay, I can clearly tell that having this paralegal certificate matters to someone. I'm not sure that it matters to me, but it clearly matters to others. So I'm going to go get it. So Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, at that point had just rolled out a paralegal program. And so I went to night school. And at that point, you had to have a bachelor's degree to even get into the program. So it was intended to be a little bit of post-grad work. And so I worked during the day and then went to school at night. And so I stayed at this IP boutique firm, shifting into trademarks about 6 months into my employment time there. And that was really my introduction to all things IP. And from there, I just continued I fell in love with trademarks almost immediately. I love this idea that you can go to a store and see a product that you've worked on or brand name that you've worked on. And that love has never left me 16 years later.
Okay.
You kind of take some sense of ownership in someone else's brand in a sense when you work on it.
Sure.
So then I ended up just kind of changing jobs, but consistently, I went to a big law firm, and then I went in-house, and then I went into consulting for a short time. And then ultimately, to get to this point, to start my own career, was very much a product of the pandemic.
Yes.
I was home, and a situation presented itself where a trademark paralegal was needed, and I took it and ran with it.
Yeah. And so congratulations with that. I know a lot of people in many industries, once the pandemic hit, had to pivot with their business and pivot with their employment. A lot of people lost their jobs. And so legal work was still going on. We were deemed essential workers. And, although certain aspects of legal work, stopped or were rescheduled, somebody had to do all of that, right? They had to do all of that. So talk to us about, what it is to be a trademark paralegal. It's not a very popular practice of law. A lot of paralegals that are trademark paralegals, they're hard to find, especially ones that have a lot of experience and that are good. So, give us, for somebody who, wants to be a paralegal and is really searching for that area of law, that they want to fall in love with, give us a little bit of insight about being a trademark paralegal.
So a trademark paralegal is incredibly transactional, right? So it is very much a 9 to 5 process. There is a saying in our world, there's no trademark emergency ever. There just isn't, because you get such generous timelines from the US Trademark Office, the USPTO, that you have plenty of opportunity to, get your response filed or whatever it might be. So
Okay.
the thing about trademarks is you'll never be out of a job. There's always going to be a need for trademark paralegals, right? So every corporation, every brand that you see out there, Google, I believe, for example, has 10 or 12 trademark paralegals to handle all of their facets of their businesses.
Okay.
Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all of these companies that you think of, they all have in-house trademark paralegals. Law firms as well, your small law firms to your big law firms, all need trademark paralegals, right? Wherever there is a brand, there is a trademark, and somebody needs to file that application. Somebody needs to be sure that application's approved, the registration's granted, and then after registration, you have maintenance filings. So all of these things create a very predictable life cycle, so that trademarks are predictable as a practice area. You're not running into court at 4:59 p.m. to get that date stamp. That's not going to happen. So, it's something that is a very important part. Plus, I will say, it's plain language, right? So you're not worried about interpreting the federal rules of civil procedure on your specific timeline. You're not getting out that date calculator and calculating the next due date. Like, it's all prescribed. And it's just plain language filings with all the things we understand and all the things we see in our daily life.
So would you say that it's not a very stressful legal support role?
Unless you're leading a company, yes, that's probably true. It can be demanding, just as any legal support role can be. I mean, you will always have those roles where you've got a particularly demanding attorney or client or situation. That will always be there. But
Right.
When it comes to deadlines and emergency filings, not stressful.
Got it. In the personal injury world, in the insurance defense world, it's litigation, right?
Right.
Like someone suing somebody, and so there's rules of civil procedure that apply, and there's deadlines that you honestly cannot miss. When you're dealing with litigation, oftentimes, both sides have to stipulate to change a date, or stipulate to extend discovery, or stipulate to this, or stipulate to that, and all the going back and forth, like we both are familiar with.
Yep.
So those types of environments don't exist within the trademark world. Is that correct?
Well, there's still trademark litigation.
Okay.
And that very much still subscribes to all of those things you just talked about. Complaints, answers, discovery, all of that still very much exists. And that typically falls under just a civil litigation type practice, right? So you go down the street, you see the attorney that handles civil litigation. He can most likely handle a lawsuit on the basis of trademark infringement. Not always, but for this conversation, we'll say that he can. And then all those same rules apply. But
Right.
Trademark prosecution, which is your trademark application, your office action, your proof of use, your registration, that has a very predictive life cycle that does not have emergencies.
Okay, got
it. The tightest timeline is 30 days. And even with that 30-day timeline, you still have a pre-30 days to even be aware of it. So it's not even like your deadline has started, but you've already got this free 30 days. And then this is your actual window.
Okay. So tell our audience, what is common trademark litigation? Like what does somebody often sue for, in trademark litigation?
So I guarantee that almost everyone watching this has seen trademark litigation play out in real time, right? So when one brand sues another brand. So what's a famous one we had recently? The shoes with like the blood implanted in. I believe Nike sued a shoe designer because he completely copied, in their view, the Nike design and then like put his own spin on it. So there's a lot going on with that shoe. And so Nike came out strong and sued him for, his profits and everything else under the sun. And those types of cases tend to make the press.
Right.
So trademark infringement is, really when one brand encroaches on the space of another and is offering similar goods and services to similar customers.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. So can a person, because there are so many entrepreneurs these days who are their own brand, like Miss Camay is a brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kim Kardashian is a brand. Can one person brand, sue another person brand for, trademark infringement?
Of course.
Okay.
Yep. So Kim Kardashian is a great example. She actually has been on the receiving end of a few of these lawsuits with some of the things that she comes up with. But alternatively, she's not afraid to go out and protect her brands.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few recently where she's been, on the where she's out protecting her brands and she's going after others to stop. But yeah, it's really commonplace, and it's part of the duty of owning a trademark. So if you have a trademark registration, it's your duty as the owner of that mark to defend your turf, so to speak. So you are responsible for, monitoring for other marks that may come out of the woodwork, for somebody opening up a store or creating a brand or do something similar. That all falls on you to protect your own brand, and is not the job of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. If the U.S. Trademark Office, if they advise you or inform you or, in any of that. So, and the answer to that is no.
Correct.
Right. So you and I both know, being legal professionals, working in-house, as well as, having our own consulting business. Everybody, any lawyer that works with us, anybody that hires us for any type of service, right? They want us to have experience. They want us to know, what it is that we're doing. They're hiring us. We're essentially the expert, and the most knowledgeable person for the job. And so how would a paralegal, somebody who's got great experience in law, has worked, in with Fortune 500 and in corporate law, maybe, in some private solo practitioner offices, how would a paralegal get this type of experience? How would they, how could they market themselves, like essentially to you or, to a law firm, if they really don't have, 5 years experience, 10 years experience as a trademark paralegal?
So I will tell you, the first thing to do is not to be afraid to put yourself out there.
Good. That's good.
When I left the boutique and went to, a big law firm in Atlanta, the job specifically was looking for 5 to 7 years of trademark experience. I didn't have it, but I knew that I wanted the job and knew that I was going to apply. And so I did, and I ended up getting the job, which was a huge springboard for my career. So even if you might not have that perfect level of experience that job is seeking, but you've got any level of experience, you can talk confidently in what you're doing. Just try. Just put yourself out there, send in your resume, pick up the phone, try and talk to the hiring manager, try and do whatever it takes to sell yourself and sort of let them forget that they thought they wanted a 5-year experienced person.
Yeah, that's
now,
good.
I'm not suggesting that if you've opened one textbook, you go out and apply for a senior level role, because that will most likely not end well. But if you have opened the textbook, you've taken the course, maybe you found a couple training classes, and you're just looking for that first foot in the door, just go for it. Just apply. Maybe there's even an opportunity where legal administrative assistant roles are frequently not always as accurate as they're advertised. And so that can become an amazing springboard to becoming that firm's next paralegal, or getting your feet wet and learning all you need to know in that world to then go apply somewhere else. Personally, I'm okay with job jumping, right? I mean, if you look at my resume, you would see that I've done a lot. I've got a lot of companies on there, fantastic. And some people are turned off by that.
Yes.
My view of the world is as long as you're moving up. So every job that you're taking should be one step closer to your ultimate career goal, whatever that might be. You know, I actually used to work with someone whose ultimate career goal was to be the trademark paralegal at Chick-fil-A. That was her goal. She now is. And she got there after, you know, spending a lot of years in big law. And she had said at various points, I'm never leaving this firm. I love it. I'm having a blast unless I get this job, which for me is the pinnacle. She got the job. So it's what's your pinnacle and how are you going to get there?
I really like that you made that point because I myself have several, excuse me, several over the years, and I've worked in the industry over 2 decades now, and I have several lists of experience on my resume. And it is often a question that I am asked in interviews. Often, I mean, I think almost every interview I've ever been in, you know, they take notice to, you know, to my tenure, right? And so my response to them is essentially the same. You know, I've worked in a lot of great areas of law. I worked in family law for 28 days, and that is all I needed for the rest of my life. I would never work in family law again. You know, it makes you well-rounded. It makes you, you know, it shows your adaptability. It shows your ability to walk into an area of law or walk into a new role and, you know, and do the job for however long that you were there. So I really like that you mentioned that because, you know, I think a traditional belief or a common belief, if you will, as a legal support professional is that, you know, they want to show that they've been at a job for 5 years, 10 years. And, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Life is about movement. Life is a journey. And if you stay in the same place, if you stay in the same job, if you stay in the same, you know, environment that you're in and you're not moving, you're not growing, you're not making any groundwork. So great point that you made there. I love that. You shared with me this I guess training, if you will, some free training because you know, you talked about you graduated with your undergrad and then you got a paralegal certificate later on in your career, right?
Yep.
And so I've often asked the question because I took the formal education route myself. I actually hold an associate's in legal studies and a bachelor's in legal studies. And you know, the certified paralegal program, you know, those certifications have actually become quite more popular, especially because of the cost. It is much cheaper than a formal degree from a university. And I've heard, I haven't taken any of the certifications myself, but I've heard that the certifications give you a little bit more specific education. You know, I feel that although I hold 2 degrees, the education was somewhat broad, right? It was more of kind of like on the surface kind of legal work. Like my real legal experience has come from my employment where I have worked. And it actually made my homework easier and not the other way around, right? So for someone who is interested in becoming a trademark paralegal, they're watching this interview and they're listening to you and your experience. What would you tell them? Where would you direct them? Would you encourage them, you know, to look into the certified paralegal certification and those types of certifications? Like where would you direct them for education that's reasonably affordable?
I feel like you're setting me up on this one. So I don't subscribe to this notion of the certified paralegal, registered paralegal programs. I think it is a money grab. I think that it is a way to make yourself out because you could pass a test. I don't have the belief that it makes you any better than anyone else. I also, having developed my career in what I would consider to be underserved legal market, it's not something that matters in my world, right? So, you know, when it comes to trademark specifically, there are a few courses you can take. 2 of them are free. So the USPTO themselves, actually, the US Patent and Trademark Office has a trademark basics boot camp. I don't know when the series runs, but that's a great free place to start, right, on the USPTO website.
Okay.
And then there's a program that I recommend to my team called, it's the Alt Legal, ALTLEGAL. They have a free trademark paralegal course. I feel like they're up to module 7 or 8 or 9 or something at this point. They've been rolling it out over the last year. So they're not even done with all of the modules yet, which is really exciting. And so they keep building on it and developing it. And so that's a really great foundational course that's completely free. And it's developed by members of the trademark field. So there are attorneys, there are paralegals, there are other support staff. So everybody, they crowdsourced the content, which makes it that much better, because now you're seeing real practitioners and it's not boring. And my team has been taking it since day one. And every time they watch a new section, I get this amazing feedback that they love the content and it's really practical content.
I love it. I really appreciate you sharing your opinion about the certification. I feel it's very valid. I honestly do. You know, coming from the world that I've come from, and you know, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. Yeah, I have 2 degrees. I still have a whole lot of student loan debt from both of those degrees, you know, staring me in the face. And you know, my college education did not make me more employable. Honestly, it did not. I very rarely have been asked to show, you know, my transcripts. I was a very good student, you know, graduated on the dean's list and made the president's list several times. I've never been asked for those certifications or those certificates. And, you know, college did not do really honestly anything but really teach me how to write. It taught me how to write. It taught me how to cite my sources. You know, I learned, you know, some legal research skills. But my practical working experience is honestly what has made me the professional I am today. I really could have, in fact, me working in the industry helped me do my homework. And I used to think, I don't know how anyone who has no legal experience, who's never worked in law, can actually pass this class. I don't see it. I don't know how they're doing well at all. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think there are a lot of support professionals who believe, or they've been told, that they, you know, they need to take the CP or the RP, you know, certification, or they need to have some, you know, degree. And I don't necessarily agree with that, just based on my own experience as well. So I really appreciate you saying that. I did check out the Alt Legal program that you mentioned. And folks, for you guys watching this interview, I'm not an IP paralegal, but I looked into that course. It's structured just amazing. It is very, very simple to follow. It is very practical knowledge that it's passing on, and it's free. It's completely free. So, you know, I don't know. I might be contacting you in a couple months for some work.
So I have a quick funny story about the RPCP thing. So
yeah,
I interviewed for a big law firm here in our market back in 2015. And everything went fine, and they were ready to offer me the job. And they were like, well, before we offer you the job, we need you to come in and take a paralegal test. We make everybody take the test. And I'm just like,
oh, wow.
Right. Are there going to be IP fundamentals on it? No, it's just a paralegal test. So sure enough, I basically failed their paralegal test because it was not anything related to my area of practice. It was all things that, if you were an RP or a CP, or you were in a more generalist area of law, I'm sure you would have done fantastic on it. But because IP is still underserved, niche, whatever word you want to use, I crashed and burned. Now, I ended up getting a job offer that I declined, but it still goes to show this whole, like, it's not one size fits all in the paralegal profession. And if the CP matters for your area, maybe you do securities litigation and your attorney's like, oh my God, this matters. Every securities litigation paralegal needs to have a CP behind their name. Then by all means, please go do it. But don't hang your hat on something that everyone says you have to have if you don't actually have to have it. Do some research first.
Yeah. Great information. Great feedback. So let's talk about your business, like present day. We talk about education and the job interviews, right? So present day, you own your own business. Talk to us about your business and the structure of your business today.
Sure. So my business, Delegate.legal, is a virtual paralegal firm intended to be a one-stop shop for small firms and solo practitioners. So when they call needing technology, needing business development, needing social media, or needing paralegal services, I want them to call us. So we are based all around the country. I have a team of 13 women, might be 14 now, at varying levels in their career. So we have senior paralegals that have 10 plus years of experience, all the way down to have no trademark experience, but want to learn and are showing promise and are willing to take the course, and they can start out and have some understanding of legal technology or legal terminology, then they come in as a client liaison. So we've got this system set up. So if you come in as a client liaison, we will teach you, we will work with you on the alt legal course, we'll give you exposure. And as you spend more time with us, you can take on bigger projects. I don't want to discourage anyone from taking on a new project if that's what they want to do. I mean, I want to encourage everybody to get the opportunity to do it.
Right.
And so so that's how we do it.
Okay. And so if somebody's interested in working with you, and they want to break into, the trademark world and really become one of these so fabulous, amazing legal support professionals, and potentially work with you, what would your requirements be? What would you look for? In a support professional that has no trademark experience? What are some of the things that you want in a candidate?
So for our client liaison roles, we look for at least a year of legal experience. Now that can be any sort of definition. That can be, working as a copy clerk in a law firm such that you can understand some of the basic terminology. It can be, you took a legal writing course or 2 or 3 in college. It can be, you went to a firm and maybe, and this is frequently what we see a lot. You went to a firm, the pandemic hit, you worked from home, you don't want to go back to in-person work. But you've got enough familiarity, but not a ton of experience, right? So I think those are 2 different things, familiar versus experience. So the client liaison is our front-facing, amazing client contact. So you're working with our attorneys on a daily basis. You're delivering their projects to them after they've been completed by the paralegal team. You're the first line for questions, though you're most likely taking them back, but you're learning as you go because you're getting the answers as well.
Yes.
You are assisting with any of our internal projects that we need. I tend to get things thrown at me, and so I will go to the client liaison team first to see if they want to work on it. So it's a little bit of everything, but it's very much an outward attorney-facing role. That's great for somebody who can juggle a lot. I mean, I can't reinforce how much multitasking is so key to this, because you don't have the attorney's office across the hall from you where he can stick his head out or she can stick her head out and yell at you. Right. This is all virtual. You're getting those emails. Your phone might ring. Sometimes with our clients, we have instant messaging software. So it really just depends. And you're working to the client specifications. So detail-oriented and multitasker are the 2 biggest things that we need. You're working with anywhere from 5 to 20 clients at a time, with the 20 client load being those that are a little more self-sufficient, right? We have some attorneys who don't really need us on a daily basis. They just give us the project, we get it done, we kick it back, life goes on. Then we have other clients who we have a regular ongoing communication with. And so that's really important that you stay on top of that. So that's level one, sort of as this client liaison role. And then if you've got at least 5 years of solid trademark experience or IP experience, because that can include patents or copyrights, then we'd love to talk to you about coming in as a paralegal for us. We are always looking. It's 100% virtual. You will never go back to the office. We do have team members all across the country, so it doesn't matter where you're located. That doesn't matter to me. And that's something that we're always keeping our eye out for. And there's a lot of room for growth. I mean, and it's even as simple as if you just want to moonlight with us because you're not sure you want to make the full-time leap, we welcome it. We definitely set up our workload so that there's some projects that have to be done during the day. And then we have a whole other bucket for just evening projects. So when the night crew comes on, we like to say, we've got a bunch of projects for them to crank out. And then in the morning, we can come back in and get all of that delivered out to attorneys. So we've got a very refined system. We are not a placement agency. You come to work for us and you come to work with us and for us. We all get along very well. I am generally accessible to my team all the time. So if anybody needs something, they can reach me. I think that we are going to be the future of the IP space, especially for small firms and solo practitioners.
Well, I love what you're doing. It really gives me hope for the legal support professional. I've always had a very strong belief that, we're the ones that do the work. The lawyers are the lawyers, they do the lawyering. But support staff, we are the ones doing the work. Like you said in the beginning of the interview, you're answering the phone, you're making copies, you're the legal assistant, the paralegal, the bookkeeper, right? We do all the work. Yep. And the work that we do in the legal world only happens because of us, the support staff. So the fact that you are standing at this podium and you are sharing with us how this can be done is really encouraging and empowering other legal support professionals to make the leap, to consider, starting a consulting business while they're maybe working in-house and work towards, the dream job that they want, right? Because you've certainly done that. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have found you and that you're sharing, this information with us. In closing the interview today, I want you to talk to this world of legal support professionals that are in this corporate job, that are not happy for whatever reason, whether they're being bullied, mistreated, they've been there for a long time, they just really are kind of searching for something new. What is your message in closing to them, to the legal support professional who's really ready for a change?
So my question would be, what's holding you back? Is it, if you make a list of all the things that you've got going on, find the 3 things that bring you joy. How do you get that joy? It's probably not coming from that job. So what would bring you joy? Is it going to find a new job? Then go do it. Is it shifting your current role? Maybe there's a conversation that needs to be had to get you additional support. Maybe you're expected to do the job of 3 and you're only 1 person. We've all had that happen to us.
Yes.
Maybe you're coming back to the office after having been home from the pandemic and you're saying, this isn't my jam. So think of 3 things that bring you joy and work to get that. Don't lose sight of it. And it's all about, I live my life one day at a time. So, you get through that day and you do a little bit on one day to set you up for success for the next day. And then you just keep going. So I would just say to them, think about the joy and go get it, whatever it looks like, but don't let yourself be miserable.
Yes. Yeah. We spend way too many days, right, being miserable. Don't 100%. Do that anymore. Yeah. Finally, if somebody is, think that they kind of want to make the change, that they want to maybe be considered to work with you and work with your team and joining you, what do they need to do? How do they contact you, and where can they find you? And let me get my pen because I'm going to take notes here.
Sure. So our inbox for all these inquiries is beamazing, BEMAAZING @delegate.legal.
I love that. That's so great. That's so fabulous.
But anybody can email in there. We accept cover letters and resumes all the time. I am not one that believes that the cover letter has gone by the wayside. I like to kind of get some introduction to who you are and why you're sending me a resume.
Okay.
But I love to receive them. I love to have conversations. We just brought somebody on that I connected with back in November or December. And she called us back and said, hey, it didn't work then. Are you still looking? And we went, yep, actually we are. And so, so she came over to join us. So never say never. And, we're always looking at resumes. We're always looking for team members. We even have clients who reach out and want a specific one-on-one person. And so we'll go source that, and you'll be on our team, but you'll only be dedicated to one client,
nice.
Which will still give you all of that exposure to the trademark world. I mean, that's really, I think, what a lot of people want is they want that exposure. And we're happy to give it to you. So,
well, yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Lindsey. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the legal support professional. I'm so grateful to have connected with you. I definitely will stay in contact with you. If there's anybody that I come across that I think would be a potential candidate, in addition to myself, I will definitely, make the connection to the two of you. For those of you that are watching, you can find Lindsey on Facebook. And you can also find her on LinkedIn. Lindsey Corbin is her name. And Trademark Paralegal is her game. Yep. She is the go-to person for all things trademark. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Lindsey, thank you so much.
Thank you. I
so appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I know you're busy. We will stay connected, and we will see you on the Miss Camay Show, the legal series interviews that we are launching. Have a great day, you guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.